I overheard my wife telling her ex, "I'll tell my husband I have a business trip, so I can come sleep with you tonight." When I questioned her, she told me to let her go and not expect her back. But when her ex threw her out, she came begging for a second chance, and I closed the door. I, 32 male, remember always believing that love was something stable, something that grew roots deep into the earth, something that survived storms because two people held on to each other. I believed commitment was stronger than temptation, and loyalty was as natural as breathing if a person truly loved. My wife, Sarah, was the embodiment of this belief for me. I thought I knew her soul. I thought I understood her fears and dreams and history. I thought we shared something unshakable. Marriage, to me, was a promise spoken in silence every day in small ways. The coffee I made her before leaving for work, the way she kissed my shoulder before falling asleep, the gentle way she would say, "Drive safe," every morning. These little things were evidence that we were a team, that we were partners in something deeper than routine or habit. And because I believed in this so completely, I never imagined anything could threaten us. I never imagined there could be someone else she gave that softness to. I never imagined that betrayal could grow inside the house I called home, inside the arms I believed were only mine. It was a Thursday afternoon. Life was normal. Nothing unusual. I came home early because a meeting had been canceled, and I remember walking in quietly because I was planning to surprise her. I had thought of picking up her favorite pastries from the bakery nearby, a place we would go on weekends, laughing about how we always chose the same flavors. I was almost near our bedroom when I heard her voice. Not just her voice, the tone of it. There is a softness lovers reserve only for the person they desire. It is unmistakable, a gentleness shaped only for intimacy. And she was speaking in that tone now. I paused, not because I intended to listen, but because my body froze. It was instinct. Some part of me already knew something was wrong even before the words revealed it. I heard her laugh. A quiet, breathy laugh she used to give me in our early days of dating. And then I heard her say the sentence that changed everything about the world I lived in. "I'll just tell him there's a business meeting in another city. I'll say it's important, and I'll stay the night at your place. We'll have the whole night together. I want that. I miss you. I miss us." I didn't feel pain at first. I felt nothing. My heart seemed to stop. The air in the hallway thickened. My ears rang like I was underwater. My wife, the woman who used to cry in my arms about how her ex had once betrayed her, was now planning to do exactly the same thing to me. It felt unreal, like I was standing outside my own life, watching a movie of someone who looked like me. She kept talking, her voice affectionate, familiar, sinful. "He won't question it," she said, and it hit me harder than the betrayal itself. Not only was she willing to cheat, she believed I trusted her too much to ever doubt her. She was planning to use my love as her alibi. She was counting on my devotion to give her the freedom to sleep with another man. I stepped back quietly, my body moving before my mind could. I did not confront her. I did not break down. I simply walked to the living room and sat down. I stared at nothing for a long time. I don't know how many minutes passed. I only know that everything inside me was silent. It wasn't rage. It wasn't grief. It was something colder, something deeper. It was the realization that the person I loved was gone long before I discovered it. When she came out of the room a few minutes later, her face was calm, composed, like everything in her heart was normal. She didn't know I knew. She walked to me, kissed my cheek casually, and said, "There's a business trip tomorrow. Last minute. I have to go early morning and we'll stay overnight. It's work stuff, not interesting." And I looked at her. Not with anger, not with sadness, but with something clear, something sharp, something exact. "Where are you going?" I asked. She didn't blink. She didn't hesitate. The lie came out of her as effortlessly as breathing. "I told you already. I have to meet a client in another city." For a moment, I could have said everything. I could have confronted her right there. I could have shouted. I could have demanded answers. But I didn't want explanations. Explanations do not fix betrayal. Words do not rebuild loyalty. You cannot reason with a choice someone has already made. So instead I nodded and said, "You can go. But don't come back. It was only then that her expression changed. Her eyes sharpened. Her voice turned defensive. What do you mean? And I said very simply, very calmly, very quietly, I heard you. She froze. The blood drained from her face. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And then, like a person drowning in pride instead of remorse, she said, Fine, maybe I won't come back. And I said, Okay. And that was it. She packed a small suitcase that night. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't show regret. She walked out of the house like the years we spent together were nothing more than a room she was done renting. I slept that night on the couch, not because I couldn't sleep in our bed, but because I realized the bed no longer belonged to the memory of love. It belonged to the memory of a lie. The next day passed like fog, quiet, dreamlike. I went to work. I came home. I made dinner for myself. I breathed. I existed. And then, at around 11 p.m., there was a knock. Not a gentle knock. A desperate one. A shaking, frantic one. I opened the door just enough to see her standing there. Eyes red, face swollen, makeup ruined, hair messy, body trembling. She wasn't the confident woman who left. She wasn't the one who said she didn't need me. She looked like someone who had been thrown into the cold. He kicked me out, she whispered. He said he doesn't want to ruin his life taking me back. That I was just a mistake. He didn't mean the things he said. He just used me. I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have. Please just let me come home. Please. Do you know what I realized at that moment? She was not grieving the loss of me. She was grieving the loss of security. She wasn't crying because she loved me. She was crying because she had nowhere else to go. Her tears weren't for the marriage. They were for the comfort I provided. And that is when the last thread snapped. That is when every memory of every smile shattered. That is when I understood that love without self-respect is just self-destruction dressed in softness. No, I said, not coldly, not cruelly, just clearly. You didn't lose me today. You lost me when you chose him. She fell to her knees on the doorstep, sobbing, begging, reaching for my hand, for my forgiveness, for the version of me who still loved her. But he was gone. Betrayal does not fade. It burns the bridge it crosses. I closed the door. Not angrily, not dramatically, just finally. And the silence that followed did not hurt. It healed. I did not just lose a wife that night. I lost the illusion of who she was. And in return, I rediscovered myself. In the days that followed after I closed the door, the house felt different, though nothing in it had physically changed. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. Her coat was still hanging near the door. Her favorite mug was still in the cabinet, sitting next to mine the way it always had. Yet the air was different, like it was finally honest. The silence no longer felt like loneliness, felt like truth. For the first time in a very long time, I realized how heavy it had been to live beside someone who was slowly drifting away. The signs that I once ignored now played back in my head, one by one, like a slow and painful slideshow I had been too blinded by love to examine. The way she had become quieter around me. The way she had begun to sleep closer to the edge of the bed. The way her phone always seemed to be flipped screen down. Notifications muted. Laughter typed silently into messages I never saw. And for the longest time, I blamed myself for these things. I thought maybe I had become too busy. Maybe I had become too boring. Maybe I had stopped being enough. Because when you love someone deeply, your first instinct is to search for your own fault, not theirs. But now, in the clarity of solitude, I understood that the problem was never that I wasn't enough. The problem was that she wanted more. Something different. Something fueled by thrill rather than stability. By temporary excitement rather than lasting connection. She did not fall out of love with me. She fell out of love with the life she had chosen. The mornings became the most enlightening part of my new routine. I would wake up to a quiet sunrise, the kind that spread slowly across the living room walls, painting everything with a faint golden calm. I would make my coffee, the same way for years, and there would be no footsteps behind me, no voice saying good morning, no presence brushing past my shoulder. But what surprised me most was that the absence did not ache the way I thought it would. There was no hollow space, no ache that tore at the edges of my chest. Instead, there was relief, a kind of release that felt like breathing fully after holding your breath for far too long. I realized I had been holding myself together while our marriage quietly deteriorated, subconsciously trying to maintain something that had already been gone. And now that I was no longer holding on, my heart felt strangely weightless. I didn't miss her. I missed the person I believed she was. I missed the version of her that existed only in my love-blinded imagination. That woman no longer existed, and accepting that truth was the beginning of healing. People around me didn't know what happened at first. I didn't tell anyone, not because I was ashamed, but because betrayal is not a story you rush to announce. It sits inside you for a while, heavy and quiet, like a wound the world does not need to examine yet. But slowly, life has its way of revealing things. And one by one, the questions came. My mother asked where Sarah was. My friends asked why I was suddenly always free. And each time I answered, I realized I was saying it with calm clarity, not distress. She left, I would say, and I let her. Some people felt sorry for me. Some were angry on my behalf. Some expressed shock because they thought we were the perfect couple. But the thing about perfect images is that they hide their cracks well. No one sees the fractures forming until the structure collapses. And when I told them how it happened, what I overheard, the moment she chose someone else while using my love as her alibi, the reactions changed. The sympathy turned into respect. They realized that walking away wasn't weakness. It was strength. The strength to refuse to be someone's backup home, someone's emotional insurance plan, someone's soft landing after they choose excitement over loyalty. There were nights, I will admit, when I thought about her, not with longing, but with reflection. I wondered if she was okay. I wondered where she was staying. I wondered if she regretted anything or if she was simply angry the world didn't bend the way she assumed it would. I didn't stalk her online. I didn't message mutual friends. I didn't search for updates. Part of healing is resisting the urge to look backward, because the moment you look back, you risk stepping back into the same fire that burned you. I chose to keep moving forward, even if the path was quiet and not yet defined. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it is simply choosing not to reopen a wound. There was one evening, maybe 2 weeks after it all, that I saw her name flash on my phone. It was late, and the world outside was calm and dark. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart did not race. My hands did not shake. I felt nothing. The person who once defined my world had become just a name with no meaning. I didn't answer, not because I was angry, not because I wanted to punish her, but because answering meant stepping back into a story that had already ended. There is a kind of peace that comes when you realize closure does not always require conversation. Sometimes closure is walking away while your dignity is still intact. Slowly, I began to rebuild my life. Not dramatically, not with loud declarations of moving on, but with simple steps. I started cooking meals for myself not out of necessity but out of enjoyment. I started taking walks after dinner, listening to the sound of my own footsteps and the gentle hum of the evening world. I started learning to sit with myself, not in loneliness, but in companionship. People underestimate the power of learning to enjoy your own presence. When you no longer fear being alone, no one can ever use loneliness to trap you again. I was healing not from the loss of love, but from the betrayal of trust. And in that healing, I discovered something essential. Leaving was not the end of love. Leaving was the beginning of self-respect.